people. We're going to talk some boxing. Um, we're going to look at some of the matchups in the lightweight division, and we're going to the top guys in the lightweight division, at least the top fights in the lightweight division. Okay, so we look at, for example, Devin Haney versus George Kambosos, as you can see in the profile pic. That may be a possibility. It looks like they may have to rematch, and it may have to be in Australia. It depends. We'll see what really actually transpires, and if that has to be, it'll have to be. Um, of course, Kambosos will want a second shot at being undisputed, so it's understandable. Um, but you also have uh, a possibility still of Devin Haney probably facing Vasily Lomachenko. Okay, maybe in October, which is about 2 months away, 3 months away. Um, we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk a little bit about possible Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis fight, which is something Tank definitely wants. Ryan Garcia has been calling for it. Um, Tank's entire team, including his promotional company, Mayweather Promotions, including PBC, Al Heyman, they'll all want that fight. Floyd came on record and spoke about it. Um, Oscar De La Hoya has been on the same page. Ryan Garcia, they're now down to negotiations. You can hear them sort of negotiating different things in public. But of course, the real negotiations happen behind closed doors and probably has happened already to some degree. And it's just sort of a little public display just to get things popping. You know what I mean? But that's a fight that is very likely to happen at the end of this year. So let's talk about these matchups. Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis and some insight into that. Um, and we'll also look at possible matchup between Devin Haney and Lomachenko this year, how possible that might be, insight into that, as well as Devin Haney rematching George Kambosos, possible insight into that, as well as also looking at Devin Haney and how Devin Haney has been going to high profile lightweight fights where you see him show up. I believe he was there for the Ryan Garcia fight. He showed up and had his presence there. And we'll talk about the insight into that as well. So let's get into it. So the first thing we want to talk about is Devin Haney. Devin Haney is undisputably the king of the division. You know, Ryan Garcia calls himself King Rye, but Ryan Garcia is not the king of the division. The king of the division is the undisputed champion, and that is Devin Haney. Now, people are going to dispute and say, well, the guy, the real guy of the division is Tank Davis. I disagree with that. Okay. So I believe that the man of the division is different from the cash cow of the division. Okay? You can have a cash cow of a division, but he's not the man of the division. Man of the division, the guy, the top honcho of the division is Devin Haney. He is the undisputed champion. He is the guy who is the top guy of that division. Now, if you're talking about cash cow of the division, that's Tank Davis. He's the attraction. So that I want to make that abundantly clear. I know BoxRec has Tank ranked above Devin Haney, but I don't have him ranked above Devin Haney. And the only way Tank can become the man of lightweight, the man, he has to go through Devin Haney. That is the only way. He cannot be called the man of the division any other way. He is the cash cow. I give him that, hands down. Cash cow of the division. But he's not the man of the division until he faces the man of the division, which is Devin Haney. Devin Haney is the lineal champion, etc. Now, I want to go through that really carefully because Tank wasn't ranked above Teofimo Lopez. When Teofimo Lopez was the man of the division because he beat Vasily Lomachenko, nobody was questioning whether Tank was number one in the division. Everybody had Teofimo Lopez as number one. When George Kambosos was the top guy in the division, nobody questioned George Kambosos being the number one fighter. No one. He was ranked above Tank as well. Therefore, when Devin Haney beats George Kambosos to become not only the leader, but the true, undisputed champion in the division, why is it all of a sudden everyone's questioning Devin Haney as the number one fighter at lightweight and Tank being ranked above him? Why, he doesn't have the complexion for the protection? While all these other guys were ducking Devin, they didn't want to make fights with Devin. They were ranked above Devin, but all of a sudden Devin beats the guy, the lineal champion, and becomes undisputed, having all the hardware, but he's ranked below Tank. It's like pound for pound. In pound for pound, no one can say that Canelo is pound for pound number one in the world. That's bullshit. He might be the face of boxing because he's a cash cow of boxing, but he is not the number one fighter in the world. That's Terence Crawford, in my opinion. If you want to argue Alexander Usyk, fine. But ultimately, in the end, those two guys are ranked above Canelo Alvarez. Period. Okay? So, you get knocked off a pound for pound number one spot when you lose. Because if you pound for pound number one, you win. Period. Okay? If you go up a new weight class and you beat that guy in the new weight class, you show that you are pound for pound the best fighter in the world. But if you go up a new weight class and you lose in that new weight class, you are not the best pound for pound fighter in the world. You can't be, because you just lost going up in weight. Right. So we need to make a discrimination between the best fighters in the world, the man of a division, the guy of the division, and the cash cow or the face of boxing or the division. All right, it's two different things. Don't get it twisted. Oscar De La Hoya lost many, many fights, but Oscar De La Hoya was still the face of boxing, and he was the cash cow. Floyd Mayweather was the pound for pound best fighter in the world, but he wasn't the cash cow. So he had to concede to whatever Oscar De La Hoya told him he had to do. Oscar dictated the terms of how and when they were going to fight. Okay. So, when we talk about Gervonta Tank Davis, Gervonta Tank Davis is the biggest draw of any fighter from 140 pounds all the way down to 130 pounds. Nobody contests or is close to what Gervonta Tank Davis does in terms of numbers from 140 to 130. Nobody's questioning that. He is the attraction. He is the draw. He's spectacular. He has accolades and all of those things too, but at lightweight, he does not have the accolades that Devin Haney has. Period. The man at lightweight is Devin Haney. Okay, so we are now clear on that. That guy, the man, we're talking boxing now, at lightweight is Devin Haney. Period. There is no disputing that. However, the draw at lightweight is Tank Davis. Not just at lightweight, at super lightweight, at super featherweight. The guy to call out is Tank Davis. Everybody got Tank Davis in their mouth. Regis Prograis, who's a 140-pounder. We got guys like we got Shakur Stevenson, who mentioned him. Okay, he at 130, and then at 135 we got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, you know, calling out Tank. Even Lomachenko had Tank in his mouth, even when Tank wasn't even over 35-pounder or 30, you know. So my point being, Tank's name is in everybody's mouth. Now, let me make this abundantly clear so we can have an understanding. Gervonta Tank Davis is a pay-per-view star. Period. He's not the biggest pay-per-view star, but he is a pay-per-view star. He is the only pay-per-view star from 140 to 130. There's nobody else on the landscape who's a pay-per-view star. So everybody else, and he sells out arenas. Period. Doesn't matter who he's facing. Gervonta Tank Davis is designed by Mayweather Promotions. He is pushing for Tank Davis to get the biggest and best. The focus of Mayweather Promotions is for Tank Davis to get the biggest, most lucrative fights out there. That is the number one goal, so that Tank Davis will supersede Floyd Mayweather's numbers when his career is over. One second. You know what? I just remembered something. I remember Gary Russell Jr., a 126-pounder, calling out Gervonta Tank Davis. That's how much Gervonta Tank Davis is in demand. Excuse me, I'm going to be eating, right? Just kind of clearing this out. Put this down. I'm going to leave it right. That's how much Gervonta Tank Davis is in demand. I want you guys to understand what I'm saying so that it makes sense what I'm about to say. So, none of the 140 to 126 pounders, we can go all the way down to little Gary Russell Jr., okay? Nobody, in fact, nobody from 140 all the way down to flyweight, all the way down to minimum weight, is a pay-per-view star. So everybody, just like with Floyd Mayweather scenario, everybody gonna have Tank Davis' name on their mouth, because that's the, if you want the biggest payday below 140 pounds, the cash cow is Gervonta Tank Davis. Want you to make that abundantly clear, so you don't have no kind of mistake in your mind about who every fighter would love to face, whether they can beat him or not. Okay, now we got that out of the way. Let's go to Mayweather and what Mayweather Promotions is doing for Tank why Tank stays with Mayweather Promotions, and why uh, this fight with Ryan Garcia is going to happen. So, you've never heard Gervonta Tank Davis call out Devin Haney. Even though actually he did. He mentioned him about Undisputed. But if you look at it, Tank's focus, what Tank always wanted to go for, is the biggest fights. Let me make it abundantly clear so you guys will understand what I'm saying. Floyd Mayweather never had this opportunity. He was not with a promotional company that wanted to make him a superstar. They kind of pushed him, but not the way how Floyd Mayweather wants to make Gervonta Tank Davis a superstar. Gervonta Tank Davis started doing pay-per-view with Leo Santa Cruz back in 2018 or 2019. He started doing pay-per-view because Mayweather and Leonard Elby and Mayweather Promotions and Al Heyman, they're all working together to get Gervonta Davis as a pay-per-view star earlier than Floyd Mayweather was a pay-per-view star with Arturo Gatti. They're trying to get Gervonta Davis in a position where he makes the most amount of money his career could ever make, facing the best opponents that possibly can be faced, but for the biggest fights. Monty Mayweather's blueprint, or he calls it the green print, okay? It's about getting the biggest and best fights for the fighter so that they can make the most amount of money by the end of their career. Obviously, they have to face the best names out there. Regardless, they're going to end up facing the best names, but it's about trying to get as much income to the fighter so that they're set for life. And the fighter's job is to make sure that they execute and they do to perfection, just like Floyd Mayweather. Focus on the fights and winning each fight one at a time. Don't study about nothing else. Your focus is on winning each fight one at a time, and your team is supposed to be able to maximize those dollars on every single fight you have. Okay? That's the model that Floyd Mayweather had for his career. He had the right people around him. And the only thing Gervonta Tank Davis really need to nail is making sure he's as ready as he possibly can be for every single fight he has. And if he does his due diligence and he does what he's supposed to do, they're going to make a ton of money. A ton of money. So that's what Floyd Mayweather's about. That's why Floyd Mayweather's never really been interested in Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson facing Tank. Not because Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson aren't great fighters already, okay, and haven't accomplished great things. And it, like, okay, so let me put this way. Who's making the most noise in boxing right now in the lightweight division? Vasily Lomachenko? No. He's not making no noise. You know what I mean? No noise, whatever. Devin Haney. He making some noise. Boy, making some noise. You know, accomplishments. You know, how he went across the seas, beat Kambosos. He making okay noise. You know what I mean? Jojo Diaz? Nah. Not really. Who else we got? We got Richard Comey, zero noise. Zero noise. Richard Comey, zero noise. Right? I gotta now scratch my head to remember the rest of the lightweights out there. Nakatani, zero noise. Right? He ain't hot right now. Right? Lomachenko beat those two. So Lomachenko making some noise. I mean, them guys be beat by everybody, but nonetheless, some noise. You know what I mean? You know, Nakathedea, he made some noise. He beat Miguel Berchelt. He knocked him out, right? You know, beat Miguel Berchelt. He making some noise. You know what I mean? But them guys don't make no. They not elite. So it's like mentioning them, Jojo Diaz. You know, I mean, if Jojo get Ryan Garcia somewhere down the road, it'll be good. But the guys who make the most noise right now in the lightweight division because Teofimo Lopez is gone, is Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis. And you can't look at the caliber of opponents they're facing, because they're not high caliber opponents like a Devin Haney, like a George Kambosos, like a Teofimo Lopez, or like a Vasily Lomachenko. They're not the upper echelon guys. They're guys, they work their way up and they get their shot, right? You know, Tank hasn't faced nobody, in my opinion, at lightweight that's on the level of a JoJo Diaz. Ryan Garcia ain't faced nobody on the level of a JoJo Diaz at lightweight, in my opinion. And I'm high on JoJo Diaz because I know what JoJo Diaz brings to the table. And y'all got to be tripping if y'all think JoJo Diaz ain't a top lightweight. He on the verge of being top elite lightweight already. Okay? Yeah, he lost to Devin Haney, but he is one of them creme de creme guys. He just got to get a couple of wins under his belt. I think JoJo Diaz is a better fighter than George Kambosos. And George Kambosos is explosive. You know, again, one of these, they're not elite, but they could become elite. You know, JoJo's kind of on the border there because he got a lot of experience, being a former world champ, etc. You know, Kambosos on the border too. I would love to see JoJo Diaz versus Kambosos, to be honest with you. I love to see JoJo Diaz versus Ryan Garcia. I know he gives Ryan a run for his money. I know it. Okay? So I'm high on JoJo Diaz. And Errol Spence certified JoJo Diaz is the goods. I'm telling you, man, JoJo Diaz would give Ryan Garcia a serious run for his money. I'm telling you, I ain't asking you, okay? I'm not, he's a body puncher. And he knows how to cut down the distance. He knows how to close distance on tall fighters and so on. You know, Fortuna kind of disappointed me in a way, but I get it. Ryan kind of stopped him from doing what he usually do. And Fortuna, you know, I thought he was more of a bob and weaver, and he does bob and weave, but in this case, like you could see he wasn't really trying to engage like that. Okay, probably a younger Fortuna would have taken more risk and really done something, but it is what it is. But JoJo Diaz is not old like Fortuna, and JoJo Diaz he even got better skills than Fortuna in terms of closing distance. All right, and he could stay defensive, kind of like walking you down, whatever. But I'm telling you, man, he's the goods. You're not just gonna stop JoJo Diaz. In fact, JoJo Diaz never been stopped. So that would be a good fight for Ryan, you know. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So the most exciting fighters in that division, the guys making the most noise, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Tank Davis. Period. They make the most noise in the division. They're not facing the highest competition. They didn't face the guy who has faced the highest competition at lightweight so far in all of them is Devin Haney. Devin Haney faced George Kambosos, who was unified world champ, who just beat Teofimo Lopez, who also beat a good Mickey Bay, who also beat Lee Selby. Okay? What's that resume now? You gotta put Kambosos up there. Okay? Dude keeps on achieving. You look at Devin Haney versus JoJo Diaz. Okay? If you want to ask me who's faced the toughest opponent so far, it's Devin Haney. Okay? Devin Haney's faced JoJo Diaz. He's faced what's his name? The guy that faced Lomachenko and put Lomachenko down. The Venezuelan kid. For some reason I can't remember his name right now, but it'll come to me. Alright? Venezuelan kid. Former world champion as well. Puncher. Right? Then Devin Haney also faced Yorkis Gamboa. He also faced JoJo Diaz. And then he faced George Kambosos. Okay? That's a hell of a resume already at lightweight. He hasn't faced the top guys. Okay? He hasn't faced the top guys. He's yet to face an elite fighter like a Tank, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia. Okay? He's yet to face one of them guys. Or Teofimo Lopez even. But, you know, you got to give him his props. He's faced the stiffest competition at lightweight is Devin Haney. That's why I said he's the man of the division. Hold on a second. I just want to chew some food. He paid his dues. Okay? Now, what fight would I like to see Devin Haney really have? I really don't care about the rematch with Kambosos. Kambosos will come. He'll try other things. It's going to be in Australia, so they're going to really try and prime it up, I guess, to be in his favor. So if they will have that fight in Australia, I don't know if it'll be televised by ESPN. I don't know what will happen. I don't know how many people attended even. I don't even know if it'll be in Australia. I really don't know. But the fight I really want to see is Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko. Not the Kambosos fight. Right? If that could happen this year, that would be great. But I think Loma wants to tune up before he steps in the ring with Devin Haney. Because Loma wants that undisputed. This is old goal. And that really, if Haney could get Lomachenko on his resume, in addition to all those other guys he beat, looks like he might have beat Kambosos twice. But in addition to all those other guys he beat, you know, that would be good. He's really proved he's the man in the division. Yet again. Now, I believe the WBA sanctioned Devin Haney to face Tank. That's why Devin Haney was talking about Tank. I'm calling out Tank. Okay? Now, so you understand, Devin Haney and Bill Haney, they have their own promotional companies. They have their own choice what they want to do. Now, I was listening to my boy from the Rise broadcast, and he was saying how, hold on one second. Yeah, man. So we talking some boxing here. I got some drops. Coconut drops. When I have a little snack in there. Oh man. Okay. So I guess that work after this. All right. Ryan makes the most noise. You Ryan has two reputable names on his resume. He has Luke Campbell, who was a top contender. Okay. The world knows Luke Campbell. And the other guy is Javier Fortuna. Okay, so that's Ryan's resume. There's other guys, but we don't talk about them. Tank Davis has a much more extensive resume, and but if we're looking at his lightweight resume, only his lightweight resume, he has Yorkis Gamboa, his Pitbull Cruz, and there's Rolly Romero. Not a bad resume, okay? Pitbull Cruz was a is a top 10 lightweight. Um, there's always a lot of buzz on him. Okay? He had been destroying some guys. They've been past it, but been destroying guys. You know? So Pitbull Cruz is another name you gotta watch out for. Very explosive, exciting, technically sound. He's been making noise. Alright? It shows he belongs at that upper level. He's a replacement for Rolly Romero. Um, as a last minute replacement, man, he was great. You know? Made a name for himself by by putting on a good competitive fight against Tank. Kudos to him. You know? Now, resume-wise, Vasily Lomachenko, I think, has the best resume in all of them. At lightweight, he faced Jorge Linares. That's the guy that uh, Devin Haney faced. Jorge Linares. Jose Pedraza. It's a guy Tank faced. Um, then he faced former lightweight champion. I forgot what the guy's name is. Beat him up. And the guy retired not too long after. Um, and then he faced Luke Campbell. Okay. And he faced one of the elite guys in Teofimo Lopez. He's also faced former world champion Richard Comey and top contender Nakatani. He has the most extensive resume um, as lightweight. You know, um, he had one loss at lightweight. One. Um, do I think that he has the strongest resume at lightweight? Yes. Next to him is Devin Haney, and then Tank, then Ryan. So when I tell you, and Devin, none of Devin's fights are close. The guy who gave him the closest fight in his career so far is Jojo Diaz. I was 8-4. But Haney shuts out his opponents. So he really definitely needs to do. Um, if Haney doesn't get the Loma fight this year, he'll probably get it next year. This is provided he beats Kambosos the second time. Now, some people say, well, Devin Haney's the king of the division. Why is the king coming showing up to see Ryan Garcia's fights? Why is he coming, you know, why is he trying to get a fight with Tank like that? Well, all fighters should do this. I see Terrence Crawford do the same thing. He went to see Errol Spence fight. He went to see all the other guys in the division fight. He want to see them live. And you can be a fight fan as well, but if you're really the king of the division, you want to pay attention to everybody in your division. So where some people were saying, you know, Devin Haney looked like he was begging or something when he showed up in the Ryan Garcia fight, I never saw it that way. Top fighters generally come to see other fighters fight. I mean, Ricky Hatton showed up after he beat Kazazu to see Mayweather and and Ricky Hatton and Cotto showed up to see Mayweather fight Arturo Gatti, and then with the kid name, and that undercard fight with the Guyanese kid and Mosa, Carlos Mosa versus the Guyanese kid who was the WBA champion, I think it was, and he lost to Mosa in the upset. So on the undercard, he lost the upset, and he could have been matched up with Floyd, and he went and lost the fight. So Mosa was the one that won the fight. Ended up Hatton faced Mosa. So when you show up to other guys' fights, it's to watch them and also prospectively to see if they would call you out or whatever they would do, right? So Ryan Garcia mentioned Devin Haney because of that, because Devin Haney was there. Mm-hmm. If you're the king, you roll through and see everybody. Mm-hmm. And Ryan Garcia has a lot of respect for Devin Haney because he knows how difficult a fight that would be. But yeah. So I think that put some understanding into the situation. Okay. Tank would jump at a Ryan Garcia fight because Ryan Garcia not only makes the most noise, but he's an attraction. It's not just his social media presence, it's the stars that show up for his fights. And he produces. Regardless of the opponent, he usually gets a knockout. And people love to see knockouts. Back in the day, John the Beast Mugabe wasn't a world champion. Knocking out everybody from 160 to 154. He weren't the best of the best. They was knocking out. But he got a reputation to be called the Beast. So it was a highly anticipated showdown between him and Marvin Hagler. He wasn't world champion. But they hype him up. Made him something that you want to see because he kept on getting knockouts. You want to build up a fighter. You want to match them with fighters that you know can give them knockouts. Okay? So they look spectacular. But they need to develop as fighters as well. Because in boxing you can't cheat boxing. You can't cheat boxing. If you're not developed appropriately, like say the Puerto Rican kick at 168, there'll come a time when you can't get the knockout. What do you do then? So, Golden Boy is doing a great job of building Ryan Garcia. You know? To make him look spectacular. And Mayweather Promotions is doing an excellent job with Tank. Building him to make him look spectacular. But Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney, those guys are building themselves. And when Tank can't get the knockout, when Ryan can't get the knockout, those guys will have known what to do to become main attractions at that point in time. Because everybody knows Devin and Shakur don't depend on the knockout to win. Okay. So, Ryan Garcia, win, lose, or draw, just like Rolly Romero, has star power all over. And Ryan will troll and say all kinds of crazy shit to get people hyped. And he says it based on the knockouts he's gotten. So he's basing it on. He's not basing it on the levels of opponent that he may have to face. So, since most fans, since most fans in boxing are casual fans, most of them, most fans don't box. They'll never realize um, what's really going on with these two fighters. Ryan and Tank have similar mentorship in terms of who they follow after. The Mayweather model. You hear Ryan say Floyd Mayweather's name a number of times. And that's because both guys look to promote themselves and make themselves as big as possible and get buzz around them. Ryan knows he has to knock out people, as does Tank. And the hype around them is what's going to make people buy the fight. Regardless of whether Ryan wins the fight or not against Tank. So, a deeper insight into the matchup. Mayweather wants that fight. Oscar De La Hoya wants that fight. Promotional teams will work out what they had to work out. Showtime looks like it will be showing the fight. They're saying it'll split with the zone. I don't think that's a good idea. The zone doesn't do good pay-per-view in the U.S. Worldwide, probably. I'll do this. I think that fight should be on Showtime, but I'm sure they can work around that situation. Both guys are 135 pounders, and they're calling out 135 pounders. So I would have to think the fight would be at 135. It's not like Ryan can't make the weight. He can. So, talking about big fight at 135. A mega fight. A pay-per-view fight. And I believe a really big fight because Brian Garcia's followers, Oscar De La Hoya followers, Floyd Mayweather Jr. followers will make this fight the mecca of all promotions. This is going to be a huge promotion when it happens. So, in terms of big fights, it's almost a bigger fight than Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. It will rival it. Because people are not so much involved in the matchup itself with this one. Crawford versus Spence is a matchup that make that fight sell. But with Tank versus Ryan, it's also the matchup. It's also how spectacular the guys fight, but it's also social media and the followers both guys have and the clout that they pull, sold out arenas, people coming to their fights, sold out fights. I think that is what was going to make that fight so big. And then Mayweather being associated with it, Oscar being associated with it, it's going to make it even bigger. And if they can get one more, something on the undercard that's really good for people to see, that fight, they could charge whatever they want to charge for a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? People will come to see it. And we're talking casual fans. Because Tank is a crossover star. Ryan's a crossover star. So a lot of people supporting Ryan, a lot of people supporting Tank. And then you're going to have the people who support Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions coming to the table. You will have people supporting Oscar De La Hoya and Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, will come to the table. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be a big, big, big fight. I'm talking big money fight. I'm talking breaks $1 million for sure. Breaks a million pay-per-view buys, sorry. A million pay-per-view buys or more. And that's tremendous. We're talking tremendous for fighters, below 140 pounds. Below 147. I don't think there's ever been. It's going to probably make history as the biggest pay-per-view event south of 147. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. But with respect to Devin Haney, um, he's not going to be in one of those big money generating events. He probably have something decent enough against Vasily Lomachenko. That's going to be a decent fight. And maybe, depends. If he's rematching Kambosos, then his last fight on his contract will be probably a Lomachenko or a Shakur Stevenson fight with Top Rank. And then once that's sorted out, Devin Haney's a free agent or whatever. It's up to Devin Haney to decide if they're going to, take on whoever else is left standing at the top. And of course, there are people who probably fill in the space. This is if Devin Haney makes it past Shakur Stevenson, or if Shakur Stevenson makes it past Devin Haney. We don't know. But whoever makes it there, then we have to look at, that person probably going against Tank. That would be a tremendous fight again. And so, I mean, no matter how you look at it, there are a lot of tremendous fights to happen at 135. Tremendous fights. And we see where it goes from there. But anyways, I thought I'd give some insight into it. So, Mayweather always looking for money, always looking for that big paper. Ryan Garcia is the ticket for that. Devin Haney, of course, trying to face any one of the top elite fighters. But I think he lined up with Top Rank, which is a good idea because it's going to make the Lomachenko fight much easier to get. And Lomachenko, again, has great experience at lightweight, 3-divisional world champion and all of that. So Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, and a win against Lomachenko really solidifies Devin Haney as the man of the division. And inevitably, if Devin Haney can get past Lomachenko and probably, clash with Tank, Devin Haney would have the best resume at 135, if it's possible. We'll see if Tank can get past Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney can get past Kambosos and then get his fight with Lomachenko or Tank, either one. After that, Devin Haney would have the most decorated resume if he was to get past those guys. If he was to get past Tank and Loma and win all those things, he would be the most decorated lightweight in the lightweight division, and also would have attained his undisputed status. But I don't know if he can get past all those guys. I really honestly can't say. We're going to see. If Devin Haney could do that at lightweight and then move up to super lightweight and really, take on Josh Taylor or some top super lightweight out there, that would be good. But we can't count our chickens before it hatch. We have to see what's next for Devin Haney. So it's either Kambosos next or it's Lomachenko next. That's what it looks like to me. And Devin Haney's date, I think, is October the 14th, somewhere there. So we'll see. But I thought I would just talk about that now. Once again, I'm gonna just say this because a lot of people always feel that um, fighters, they seem to have some advantage over other fighters. You know, you talk about Jake Paul, and everybody's like, you know, Jake Paul is taking away from the other fighters. The other fighters that work so hard to get where they are at. Well, guess what? Jake Paul got to work harder too. He got to work super hard. In fact, he should be working his ass off for the Hasim Rahman, because there's such a tremendous gap in knowledge and a tremendous gap in just opposition, um, that he better be working his ass off, because I'm gonna tell you, there is no shortcuts in boxing. You cannot cheat boxing. You know, Jake Paul made, you know, substantial amount of money, did some pay-per-views, you know what I'm saying, on Showtime. But if he don't catch up, I mean, knowledge-wise and skill-wise and everything, catch up to the opponent he about to face, he about to get smashed, y'all. He about to get smashed. He better work on his conditioning like crazy. Better be getting hit by heavyweights, you know, big, strong heavyweights. He better be getting banged up there, because, man, you can't cheat the system, y'all. You can't cheat the system. You can't make too big a leap, because then you'll be cheating the system. You can't just jump steps in boxing. You can't do it. You know, you talking about a guy, decorated guy in the amateurs, 100 amateur fights, 13 pro fighters, some with winning records. You're going up against a guy like that. I don't care if he got stopped the last fight he was in. He has way more knowledge than you on boxing, and he's bigger than you. So, I mean, Jake Paul, shout out to him and salute, but I think he took too much of a leap, man. That's too big a jump. That's too big a jump. I don't care what he see. And similarly with Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has been doing well and being brought along well. Tank and they seen dollar signs, but Tank paid his dues. You know, Tank's been a world champion several times. So the gap in knowledge between Ryan Garcia and Tank is tremendous. Okay, Tank was a world champion back in 2000, I believe it was 2017, against Jose Pedraza. Then he became world champion again when he was stripped, and he became world champion again, beating the likes of Cuellar. Okay, and then he became legitimate 130-pound champion again, beating Leo Santa Cruz. Okay, and on top of that, he's faced guys with these secondary titles who kind of been on a championship status, kind of like a Fortuna, right? He faced, but not a guy that's former world champion, but actual world champion. So he's faced like Yorkis Gamboa is actually world champion. He was a little bit past it, but nonetheless, Tank was smashing it, but he still had durability, veteran savvy, and clinching and all that stuff, counter punching. But Tank also faced world champion Mario Barrios, secondary world champion. This is the Mario Barrios that hurt Keith Thurman in the 8th round, I believe it was, of their fight. Tricky, long guy, good power. He also, you know, faced young, strong Pitbull Cruz. I mean, Tank has been tested so many different ways, okay? So what Ryan Garcia is about to bring to the table is nothing Tank ain't seen before. And the experience gap that Tank has to Ryan Garcia is just tremendously wide, you know. And I think that's what a lot of people are not seeing. Ryan saying what he's saying, it sounds funny, because I guess he counting on his check hook and all this kind of stuff. But you got to understand, Ryan, you got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues in boxing. You need to go through guys like Jojo Diaz. You need to go through guys like George Kambosos. You need to go through guys who will test your mettle. It's not just power. Teofimo Lopez, tremendous power puncher, got dropped by George Kambosos. You know what I mean? Ryan Garcia's quick, he's fast, and all that. But I mean, you got to understand, you have to be tested. And I don't think that Ryan Garcia has been tested enough to face a Gervonta Tank Davis. So I expect him to come up short in that fight, because Tank has too much experience. Just has too much experience, man. And, you know, skills pay the bills, but also experience brings out the deal. So, I pretty much could call that fight if I want to, but what I'm saying is you can't cheat boxing. You can have all the hype behind you. You control everybody as much as you want. But at the end of the day, You still have to get in that square circle, and you still have to face what's in front of you. And no set of talking in the world can stop the inevitable outcome of whatever fight it is you're about to face. So that's what I got for you guys. I'm what you need. I hope you guys have a great day. Subscribe to my channel, share, like, donate. You can donate via PayPal. I'll put the link in the comment section below. I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.